everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sassy Moms. And yeah, actually, I should introduce myself first, right? Because we're not there yet. I'm Wendy.
We are not there, yeah. And I'm Anya.
Well, what I wanted to say was I'm so proud of us, to be honest. This is our 10th episode. I can't believe our just random chats about, moms and work turn into this. We have now a podcast with 10 episodes.
Absolutely. And in fact, in addition to our podcast and recording, so we also trying to do a little bit of marketing and posts on Instagram, lunch shorts, lunch reels, and trying ourselves in this new marketing role too. And honestly, Wendy, I didn't expect that. All I can say is that doing anything is really, really hard. And
Yes.
AI revolution is here to help us, at least with content, which is nice.
Yes, yeah, and then like also I never thought about like all the I guess administrative work that comes into it, right? Like all the editing, all the
Hmm.
posting and the constant like recording and then have to edit it and then posting. It's like yeah, it's a lot. And I just want to say I appreciate you so much in this partnership because you have been keeping me on track. I don't know how you do it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's challenging for me for sure, but I just know that we, have to keep going. We have to, keep generating content, and the only way we can really, be um, able to, help other people is by becoming maybe more popular, I guess. But at the same time, in order to do so, we have to keep recording, keep recording, keep recording. So it's
Yeah, I
hard.
know.
It's hard
Yeah, yeah.
when
It's hard,
having
but it's
a
yeah, but definitely something fun too. And I think we're learning through this process, we're exploring something new. I feel like we're learning almost daily because it's like, oh, like this approach didn't work. Well, let's try this, let's try that, right? So it's been quite interesting. And interestingly, when I first told my friends about this, you know what most people said when I told them what we're doing a podcast?
what that you're crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was like, oh, congratulations, obviously, right? Like they were like, oh, like everyone was so supportive and all that. But what was actually surprising to me, a lot of people were like, oh, I wish I'd done this. Like I wanted to do a podcast about this. Like I have a really interesting topic to talk about on this, like for a podcast too. I'm like, well, look at me as an example. We just started out of nowhere. And it's been a fun journey. So I'm like, just go for it. Who cares if you might not have the followers? You might be putting yourself out there, which is one of the things I'm like super worried about. It's like, oh my God, like what do people
Mhm.
think, right? We just go and do it. It's been fun.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing is that I think I realized while doing this is that again, sometimes podcast seems like, oh, what like you just take a microphone and you talk
Mhm.
about your interesting topics, but it's not. It's actually very hard because first you need to have topics for like to be continuously doing this. Then you need to, as you mentioned, like editing, right? But also again, like all the marketing work that happens. It's just like recording a podcast only takes 1 hour, but then it takes another five to just
Yes.
launch one episode. So this was a big learning, and something that seems easy is actually not.
Yes, I know. I know. It's like, oh, we just need a mic and all we do is just, talk, right? But it's totally not.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
today's episode is something that I was looking forward to the most because we are not going to just talk about things that we think are important for our audience. We actually selected a couple of questions from our followers and people who just leave comments from our videos, and we're just going to answer the questions that we received, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. So I actually haven't had a chance to review all the questions, so this will be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so the first question is actually will be for you, Wendy, because
Okay.
we had an episode where we talked about positioning.
Mm.
And we talked about how challenging, how many challenges someone can experience if they position in the wrong category. But people want more, more advice on this topic, more actionable tips. So, can you elaborate a little bit? How do you know if you are positioning your product in a wrong category? Any signs maybe that a person can look for?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I think when we were trying to figure out this, the telling signs were clear, but we weren't sure. So what I mean by that is I think our sales were kind of slowing down. We were having a harder time to convert some of the opportunities to close one. So I think some of the telling signs are there, but it doesn't mean that's the only reason. I think the telling sign is when your customers are talking about your product in the category very differently than how you market it. I think that's the most telling sign.
Mm.
When our customers were raving about some of the features, the functionalities of our products, it was totally different than what we had categorized our product was. I think that's the biggest telling sign. And then you combine that with, slower growth, slower opportunities being closed. That's when we found out like, hey, should we revisit our positioning? Should we revisit how we categorize our products? That's when we were like, oh yeah, this is a telling sign.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I learned a lot here. Um, I also want to mention just because, when we record, it's not always a perfect environment. And
Yes.
just for everyone to know that it was an emergency episode recording today. So I have my baby on the background. And yeah, sorry, because I'm watching how he is doing a tummy time right now.
Yeah, no. Just so everyone is aware, Anya's been super flexible on all of this because I think we tried to record this for 2 weeks now. And it's
Yes.
always been like something. But I'm like, hey, I got this time. Are you available? She's like, yes, I am. Let me get hop on like now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
all right. So next one is for you, Anya. So what does it
Hmm.
mean to find customer empathy within your business? So I think one of the episode we talked about, hey, like we need to, for a product manager to be good at their job, they need to look at, the business, right? Not just the customer. I think this is really where the question is coming from. Can you elaborate?
Yes. I actually, this is the question that I'm asked a lot because very often, again, we talk about how empathetic we should be towards our customer needs. And very, very rarely do we talk that a product can only be successful within the business. And if we look at the top-down approach, right, first comes problem. So in order to develop something that customers need, you first need to understand if the problem, if you can work on the problem for them, and this is where product managers very often, they, instead of focusing on problem, they focus on solution. They try to know what customer want from a solution perspective. But what I'm trying to say is before you solution anything, because your solution is expensive, it requires you a lot of investment in order to build the solution. It's time sensitive. It's time sensitive because the solution usually will take multiple months in order to develop it. So before you jump into solution, first you step back and you ask yourself, am I solving the right problem? Is this the problem that my business wants me to sell? So, for example, if your business comes to you and says, hey, we are losing money because we don't have a retention or we have a high churn, before you as a product manager try to jump on a call with customers who churned or the customer who didn't renew, first do analysis, understand, okay, is churn a real problem, is retention a real problem? And this is what I mean, right, about a business goal.
Mm,
You first evaluate if business comes to you with the right problem in relationship to their goals. And only after that, you decide what solution it can be. So, you know, I want product managers to understand that when business comes to you with a problem, it's usually just a hypothesis. Once you switch your mindset towards it, you will be much more flexible and you can provide better results.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's really important to understand. I think I do see that. I think when customers, especially when they complain, it's like, oh, I need this feature, I need that. And then you, as a PM, you think your job is to solve that issue. But yeah, absolutely not. So I appreciate
Exactly.
that. Yeah, I
And
appreciate
then
that.
you still listen to your customers, but you
Mm-hmm.
listen to your customers once you kind of prioritize that, yes, this is exactly the problem I want to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to your customers and you figure out
Mm-hmm.
what they need in the framework of the problem. But yeah, so one of the things that actually came to, like, one of the questions that we had was about like product marketing management and storytelling, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
talked about how storytelling is one of the key skills for product marketing managers. And I think that we had a question where a person asks how, what courses can they take in order to like develop this skill.
Mm.
And I actually remember I asked this question to you, Wendy, back
Yes.
during our podcast, and you replied that you think that storytelling is a skill that can be developed.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if I would be a product marketing manager, I actually would argue that it's not something that you can do. I think it's something that is either like you either have it or not. And the reason I
Mm-hmm.
say it because I imagine myself in this role and I know that I will not be able to tell the story. And how do I know? When we launch our Instagram shorts or YouTube shorts, you are the one writing the story. I'm not. I can tell the story from the product management perspective. Like I can analyze data and I can say, oh, this is where conclusion is. I can present a story for investors. I don't know, for executives, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't do this creativity that you do with our posts.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Do you think that I'm right, or do you still think that storytelling is something that can be learned?
I still think it could be learned. The reason why I say
Okay.
this is I think it comes more probably easier for me because I have done it for a long, long time. Because I think so how I think when we approach storytelling and why I think it's an acquired skill is storytelling really comes from positioning. If you have a great positioning framework and you've populated that framework based on feedback from your customers, feedback from people that you chat with, like sales team, getting input from the executives, all of that will feed into this positioning doc. This positioning talk will then guide you on the storytelling. So that's why I think it could be a learned
Mm-hmm.
skill. But I think from how I think what you're saying, it's like, oh, like it just comes naturally. I actually don't think it comes naturally for me too. I have to think through that framework. It's just probably I have done it probably more times than you have in terms of like putting all these in that framework. So it just comes easier in that sense. But I can tell you, you can do it too. I stand by that.
I don't know. It's very challenging. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah.
We,
I think one of the other thing is something that I enjoy too. So it probably comes more naturally for me just because it's something that I do enjoy doing. And I think it's a core competency of product marketers. And I've seen like a lot of good product marketers that have the skill really honed in and it comes to them more naturally than maybe someone that is like fresh out of school. Because I can tell you like when I started this or even understanding storytelling, that didn't come naturally to me. Because I think having the
mm,
framework, understanding, hey, like, what are the challenges? What are some of the outcomes? What is the situation that demands them to solve the challenge at this particular time? All of those will help you kind of create that story. So I do stand by that. It could be learned. It just might not. I think you need to learn the framework first before that framework translates to a story. So Anya,
Okay. So I think we need a checklist for the framework because, like, if I can do
yeah.
it, then maybe
Actually,
checklist can help me.
that's a really good idea. I would love to be like maybe we can talk about, hey, like we want to do this and then let's walk through the framework maybe even together.
Yeah, because like there is like the sleep training where they say like
Oh
nap
yeah.
if baby wakes up in good nap,
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
mood if baby falls asleep within 10 minutes or falls asleep within an hour. Um, it's funny, like we can do something like that with you on the positioning
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
and storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. All
Okay.
right. Okay, so another
Uh,
question. This is more probably more for
mhm,
you. I think we talked about pricing for products. So Anya, this is a
mhm.
question for you. Are we gonna do an episode about it?
Yes, we absolutely are going to do. And in fact, I already started working on the content because I wanted to be a little bit more insightful, right?
Mm,
There are different types of pricing. There can be pricing as an add-on, right? Which is one thing, pricing as an innovation, right? Pricing as retention. So I really wanted to be very interesting for our audience. So I committed myself that episode 15 is going to be the episode on pricing.
okay,
Maybe
you
it's
guys
too
heard it.
ambitious. Yeah, episode 15 of Sassy Months is a pricing
Yeah.
episode.
Okay, perfect.
One of the question we have is now related to the baby topics. And
Mm-hmm.
you, Wendy, mentioned, I believe also in the positioning episode, that you had challenging breastfeeding and specifically that you, like with your first baby, you realized
Mm-hmm.
that it took you some time before the milk came. So actually, can you maybe tell more about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, like I found this question interesting because when you said that you had a milk supply issue, I can't even imagine how, like, what it is.
Yeah.
How did you discover it? I know you mentioned that it's your baby, but still, like, how you didn't know that your baby was like eating, right? And then how did you like? You also said that you were concentrate, like all you were talking is about breastfeeding. So what specifically were the topics that you talked about? So maybe someone can relate to it. So can you tell us
Yeah,
more?
yeah. Yeah, so how did I find out that I wasn't having enough milk? It was actually a week after my baby was born. So we went to the doctor because he was showing signs of jaundice. So
Mm-hmm.
jaundice is like you have I forgot what's the chemical. Basically, it's just like you can't process something, so you have a more of a yellow tone in your skin, and it's actually toxin. So I went to the doctor, and then he's like, "Oh, your baby has jaundice. You need to feed your baby more." And that's why, and then he asked me, he's like, well, how much milk are you feeding him? And he's like, well, and I didn't know any better. So I'm like, well, I'm breastfeeding him. I don't know how much. He's like, well, have you hen expressed? I'm like, well, I've tried, but I don't see milk. But the nurse was telling me at the when I was in the hospital that it's normal because the way that the baby sucks has more suction, so it pulls out more milk versus hen express. And then my doctor is like, no, 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 no. You should be able to. Um, and that's when he kind of educated me on sometimes moms may not get the milk right away, and you need stimulation. And yes, you need to put your baby on your boobs to stimulate your breast to create more milk, but sometimes it doesn't come as quickly as you thought you would. Sometimes it takes, a few days, a week, or whatever it is. So as soon as you get out of here, buy formula and start feeding your baby. And at that point, I actually broke out in tears because I'm like, so you're telling me I haven't fed my baby for a week? And he's like, no, I'm not saying that because he is peeing. Like there's pee and there's poo, so it means he's
Mm-hmm.
taking some. It's just probably not enough, and not enough liquid is what causes jaundice. And I was like, at that moment, I seriously broke down because I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst mom ever. Because I trusted what I
Mm-hmm.
thought was a professional advice, saying I do have enough milk, and I just lived by that, and never really like clicked in when my baby was crying constantly for the first week because I'm not feeding him enough, which is like so crazy to me. And yeah, seriously, that's how I found out.
And so, but you did like every like let's say every 2 hours, you still like
Yeah, yeah,
you were just
I
like
did
pushing
all
your
that.
baby.
I did
Okay.
all that, right? I did all that. It was like 2 hours, every 2 hours and all that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess like maybe there's a lot of reasons for it. He was mentioning as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the suction wasn't right, the latch wasn't right. Um, and I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if like I just don't have enough milk, which I don't think that's the case, because I feel like everybody is equipped to do it as well. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually don't even know why. Is it Asian? Like I don't know, my Asian genes? Like I don't know.
I don't think so. It's not related. Oh my
Yeah, so I
God.
have no
Okay,
idea, to be
so
honest.
okay, so this okay, you found out, and then why were you obsessed about it? So what made you
Oh
like
yeah.
to be obsessed?
So I got obsessed because I was like, I can do this. I'm a mom. Like I'm supposed to be feeding my baby. So why can't I? Why can't
Mm-hmm.
everybody else? And I got into this mindset where not only did I fed my baby every 2 hours, I also pumped after those feeds. So I drove myself crazy because I was feeding, pumping, and then just imagine and then you have like maybe 1 to 2 hours break, and then you do it all over again. So literally, I had no break. So I was driving myself crazy.
Oh
So
my
that
God.
what happened. I was obsessed. Yeah, and I don't know. I
Mm.
was driving everyone around me crazy too.
Okay.
Yeah, like my husband,
Yeah,
my
I know.
mom. So
I do this with sleep to my
yeah,
partner and
yes,
mainly to my partner driving me
yeah.
crazy. Okay, and then when did you stop being obsessed? Was there a point where you're like, okay,
I
everything now
think
is good?
I think once I've got like maybe a regular flow, and then I think I
Okay.
got myself out of I think I started chatting with other moms too, because like there are some baby groups and things like that, and then
Mm-hmm.
it didn't feel like, oh, every mom I chatted with was solely breastfeeding. A lot of them were like
Mm-hmm.
supplementing, so I was like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how like you get stuck in one thing and then you're like so obsessed with it and then you start chatting with other people, it's like, oh, it's actually okay to supplement. And that's when I probably
Mm-hmm.
let loose a little bit. Uh, yeah, so that's what happened.
Okay, so basically you combined breastfeeding together with
Yes.
formula and as
Mm-hmm.
much as you could have. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it was super challenging because honestly, like just like pumping potentially and like plus formula, like so many bottles, so many.
Yeah, I was constantly pumping, feeding, cleaning. Like that was
Yeah,
my day.
yeah, yeah. Okay, and then do you remember? Was it like your baby like 4 months, 5 months when this
Don't
like?
recall like when I stopped. But for the firstborn, I didn't stop breastfeeding until he was probably a year and a half. It decreased
Mm,
with the twins. I think I stopped around like 8 months, 7 months. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with
yeah, I know. I mean, it's just interesting topic because so, like we like there is a lot also like everyone talks about how challenging breastfeeding is, and I personally before giving birth didn't know it is.
this. We need to touch base on this. So you talked about how like you got colostrum even before the baby
Yeah,
was born, right? How did you do it? I need to know because actually one of my friend
yeah.
is struggling a little bit with breastfeeding too, so I want to share this tip with her.
Yeah, so actually my again my baby also had jaundice by the way. But
Hmm.
it was because I had this traumatic birth experience that I talked about in a
Yeah,
previous
yeah.
episode, and he was delivered through the vacuum, so he did have like the little like hematoma
Mm, mm,
on his head. So because of that he had jaundice, but we were
mm.
able to like I was able to resolve it within a day because it was a switch between colostrum and milk, and it was like a colostrum feeding night for me when
Ah,
colostrum changed to milk, which actually happened like maybe on a third or fourth day
mm,
when I gave birth. And I was just a cluster feeding him. And so this transition happened to me without mastitis, which was very nice. But if we go back to colostrum, yes, so just like the midwife said that, hey, you can try expressing colostrum starting from like 37th week, because 37th week is when they consider a term baby. So don't do it before that time because it can generate like you actually going into labor. So starting from 37th week. And I was actually like, I remember your story because I knew it before our podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was worried that, oh, what if I can't have milk? I need to ensure I have a formula, a bottle. So I was able to, I prepared all of it for like everything. But then so they said you can try colostrum, and I was like, okay, let me like hand express colostrum what it is. And honestly, like I was just sitting on a couch, and I just randomly like was like curious how to do it,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I actually just was like touching my breast, and they said
Yeah.
that like if you have a breast, you need to like do like this. So you from a breast up into to the nipple, like you do like
Oh,
little movements. And I at first I did this, but then this just kind of enables a flow, and then you just squeeze your nipple a little bit. And once I
ah,
like one day, like I squeezed my nipple a little bit, and I saw some like
oh,
white or like white
yeah,
thing
yeah.
or like
Yeah,
yellowish
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I was like, oh, it must be colostrum.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, cool, I have it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I started to just hand express it into the syringe. So they gave us
Okay.
syringes. And so at first it was just like maybe like 1 milliliter. And then second day it was 2 milliliters. And they on
Oh,
the fifth
wow.
day I was able to do like an 8 milliliters,
Oh,
like
wow.
full syringe, which actually saved my baby because when I was unconscious and I didn't see my baby for the first day, we were using all of this colostrum to feed him.
Ah, okay.
But also, I can tell you that I noticed that I do have something coming from my nipples
Yeah, yeah.
um, during entire pregnancy because there was always like a little bit dry,
Ah,
like
like,
yellowish substance
mm,
on my nipple. So I
okay.
already knew that my nipple produced, like my breast produced something.
I
It
see.
was just a matter of actually like
Yeah.
squeezing it, I
Yeah, yeah.
guess.
And how long did you have to do that motion till you had your first meal of colostrum?
Uh, First meal, I mean, maybe like 15 minutes for the first
Oh,
meal.
15 minutes. Oh, so the first time you
Yeah,
did it, you already had colostrum when you massage your
yeah,
breast. Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So I already had, and again, like I assume I had it even earlier because there was always like some like dry colostrum
Yeah.
inside of my nipples. Maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not pleasant
It's
to hear, but there was this thing which I constantly like noticed while showering.
okay.
So I kind of already knew that it's there, but I never like touched it
Yeah, yeah.
up
Okay.
until.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. Because I've never had like hand expressed or even like before giving birth.
Mhm.
So maybe this is the key to because you have an oversupply, right? Um
Exactly. And that's why I was like, so like in one podcast, we have a woman with who struggled, and I'm struggling with oversupply. And maybe it sounds crazy, but oversupply is an issue because my breasts are reactive like this.
mhm.
So it's like Aiden has a like my son, sorry, Aiden, yeah, he has a bad day. So he needs to, let's say, breastfeed more often. He
Yeah.
breastfeeds more often, the next day, oversupply. So
Mm.
it's so reactive, it's just crazy. And this is bad because when you have an oversupply, there are like two types of milk, right? Fore milk and then hind milk. And it's bad because he doesn't end up getting this fatty hind milk because he gets full from fore milk. And this results in gasiness, results in diarrhea, results
Mm.
in like poor sleep and like problems with the stomach because he eats too much sugar and lactose, which becomes like and instead of like sticking inside of intestines, it just goes straight into the like poop.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, yes, so it results in a lot of like gut issues for
Oh.
him. And I have again two options: either start regulating it just by giving
Hmm.
only him whatever he needs to, but again, once there is an off day, it just ruins everything.
Oh
Or
man.
I have to like hand express so that I can get
Mm,
this like
mm.
sugar and water out
Yeah.
as much as possible so that it's like a normal milk.
Oh my goodness.
So it's crazy.
Why is breastfeeding so hard? I didn't even know that this is a
It is.
problem. Like I was like oversupply. That's
Exactly.
like to me, I'm like that's like the dream come true.
I know, exactly, right? It's like a dream come true, but it's not at all a dream. And then, like long, like for example, like right now, my baby sleeps the longest stretch
Hmm.
between, let's say, 7 p.m. and 5 a.m., right?
Mm.
But for 3 weeks already, just it doesn't regulate every 5 a.m. I just wake up with a very hard breast,
Yes.
which needs expression because otherwise he will have reflux also. Reflux is also another problem.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, from this,
That is so
which
tough.
affects sleep and everything. Yeah.
I know, I know. Oh, actually, another question that our audience have is, we've chatted about sleep training, and I know Anya, you're in the
Mm-hmm.
thick of it. Um, can you just chat a little bit more about like what is the maybe a tip that you've learned or some failures that you have had that our audience can learn from?
Yeah, I think sleep training for me has been entire failure in general. Okay, not entire, but I think the biggest thing that I would like everyone to know is that, which honestly is still hard for me to understand, is that sleep is not separated from feeding, from well-being of your child, from again gut issues, their mood, traveling, even like sleep at night, growth spurt, and all of these factors. So I was driving myself crazy because I constantly like expect it to be perfect,
Yeah.
and then every imperfection drives me nuts. But it can't be perfect because you're dealing with human being. You have to ensure that your baby is fed very well. And yes, like kind of sleep consultants, they try to standardize this thing, um, but it's very hard. Like everyone, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, feed your baby in the beginning of the awake window. But then, like again, if you have an oversupply, it will not work because baby will be hungry immediately after 30 minutes. If you
Mm.
follow this rule, your baby will be hungry going to bed and it will not work. Right? Or potentially stimulation. Like there can be like the standardized wake windows, but everything depends how stimulated your baby was. Today, maybe it takes 2 hours to stimulate your baby, but tomorrow you do something new and it's only 1 hour 45 minutes. So it's really hard to it's very hard, but I just want to, I guess, tell everyone that it's not separatable. Like you can't separate sleep from everything else that is happening in your life. So you will have to
Mm-hmm.
accept a lot of failures. And I think that in general, his sleep became better. It's just right now I'm traveling again, so everything is very hectic.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing I think I mentioned to you, Anya, as well, it's like you feel like you take 10 steps forward, or no, one step forward, you take 10 steps back. Because the thing
Mm-hmm.
about baby, even like with sleep training, and there's lots of like I guess books or guides online that kind of
Mm-hmm.
guides you like, hey, from this age to this age, they will switch from like 4 naps to 3 naps, right? And then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like on top of that, there's like what they call I guess like learning weeks where they learn a new skill, like learning how to roll over, learning how to stand, learning how to do all the bunch of other stuff, right? Everything kind of throws out the window and you have to start all over again. And that's why like sleep
Mm-hmm.
training is not like a one and done thing. It's more like a marathon that you just have to keep running. And then
Exactly. Yeah, this is how
you
I feel.
keep, yeah, and then you have like I guess like different points where you're like, okay, I felt like I did something and you're getting better. But then there's other stuff that kind of throws you out the window, that what you have done
Mm-hmm.
is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm at this point traveling. Everything I have done is just
yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah, so, so hard. All right. Another question that people have is, hey, I am approaching, giving birth. I am super worried about this birth. You guys talked a lot about, newborn sleep, breastfeeding, and that's like the last thing I am worrying about now. Like, how do you help me get past this birth, which I'm like super worried about? Well, Anya, you go first because I think it's more you just had it a few months ago. I don't even remember mine anymore.
I think the best advice I can give you is the advice that I was giving is that no matter what you plan, your birth will not be according to the plan. Everyone I talked to, unfortunately, had something wrong was there
Hmm.
that you can't expect. And today you might think, oh no, everything is good, everything is healthy. But no, everyone I talked to had something there. So you likely will not be able to expect for it. And I think that you still have to go to these birthing classes because it will help you a lot. But just try to understand that birth is going to happen. It like everyone gets birth. No one is pregnant forever, and it will take you like 1, 2, maximum 3 days. But then comes your baby, and your baby is with you forever. And I do recommend that in addition to these birthing classes, do take some other classes to like switch your mindset to like, oh, what happens once I have a baby? This will potentially also help you to refocus and maybe just ease a little bit in your worries.
Yep, I totally agree with that. Yeah, people ask me, it's like, hey, you had twins, like, how was the birthing experience and all that, right? Can you help me with, like easing my worries? Because like I'm super worried about this and that and that. I'm like, I think you touched on it. It's like you have a birth plan, but often it's like there's other things that happen that detours you from actually what you want to have, right, or intended to have. So I think just go in there with the understanding that you can do this. It could be natural birth, it could be through epidural, it could be through C-section. But like Anya said, you will get through it. It might take you 1 day, 2 day, or 3 days, but you would get through it. It just depends on like there's maybe some complications or there's other things that happen. Like, I had a second-degree tear. I had no idea what that meant. Things like that, that just like you just learn with the experience and then highly recommend just understanding what comes after.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I think these are the questions that we wanted to
Hmm.
cover today. I bet we will do one more episode on more questions. And it was, yeah, let's celebrate our 10th episode together.
Yeah. High five. All right. Thanks for tuning
Virtual.
in to another episode. If you like the episode, remember to subscribe and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Okay, bye bye, everyone.